Welcome back to Black Talk Today podcast, and I'm your host, Troy. Welcome. It is June 1st, and finally, we are finally getting some good summertime weather. Man, I was wondering when the weather was going to break for us here in the New England area, but it finally is broken for us, and it is, some will say officially, summertime. I normally say it's summertime whenever it's June, right? Because normally it's hot around this time. June 1st, normally we're already in the throes of somewhat extreme heat, but not this year. And for whatever reason, it's been raining the entire week. And, I'm just glad that we're at the place now where the next several days, the weatherman has forecast that there will be nothing but sunny days, 90 degrees in consecutive days that we can expect to receive. And hopefully that can be pretty much the forecast for the next several months. And I'm looking forward to that. And I know a lot of you guys are too. And it's also a great day to celebrate because in the New England area, there's no mask mandation. No mask. You don't got to wear masks anymore. Well, theoretically, it's up to private-owned businesses and establishments if they still want their customers to wear masks, but the state is no longer mandating that citizens wear masks when out in public, and I think that's a beautiful thing. You guys know, if you've been watching my podcast, you've been watching me on YouTube up until this particular moment, I frequent the gym often, and it's just horrible working out at the gym when you have to wear a mask. It's one of the most ridiculous things that I had to experience, but I get the reason why, especially if I want to continuously work out and continue my workout routine in public, but it's horrible. You know what I mean? You're breathing back all that carbon monoxide air that your body is releasing back into your body to somewhat of a degree, and I'm just happy to have the option not to wear the mask no longer. So, that's great. That's great. I know a lot of people are excited about that. A lot of people are out and about. It can be a bit weird, going to the local supermarket or bodega or store and to see actual citizens walking around with no mask on. And you want to say to them, like, excuse me, where's your mask? But, you no longer need to say that because it's not mandatory. And now I no longer need to worry about when I'm pumping my gas, having to go back in my vehicle to retrieve my mask because I forgot my mask. I don't have to deal with that particular issue anymore, and I'm very, very much happy and excited about that. And the small things. The small things in life, I think, make me happy. I'm not a needy person, at least some may say. But yeah, let's get into this particular podcast. I'm very excited to get into it. A lot to talk about. Some very interesting things that have been occurring, and some particular topics that I would like to address. And I would like to address them honestly and freely here. Once again, you guys heard of something? You know what I'm about to say. You guys heard of something, right? It's called the First Amendment. Protect my right and I'll protect yours. And by no means anything that I say here on my podcast, whether it's on my YouTube channel, am I trying to be divisive or to stir up or brew any anger or hate within any group or any citizens within this nation here. But I think honestly and freely, in a free market speaking media platform that I have here, I have no strings attached to me. Something that Ultron said. If you guys are familiar with the Marvel Avengers franchise, you know who Ultron is, and he said, I have no strings attached to me. Maybe I'm paraphrasing that, but he said something to that effect. But yeah, there's been a lot of recent disrespect that fans have been showing to NBA players since the return of fans to the actual arena, as of lately. And within the last couple of weeks, it seemed like, every game, at least from what I've been seeing from the reports, that there's a fan doing something dumb. And when I mean something dumb, I mean whether it's throwing popcorn on an athlete or throwing a water bottle or yelling racial epithets at grown men who are entertaining them. It's kind of getting out of hand. Actually, it's not kind of getting out of hand. It's been out of hand. And I'm surprised that the media, well, but then again, I'm not surprised that the media isn't addressing this the way it should have been. But I'm a bit bothered by what's been going on. But I'm going to address it here on my platform because that's just what I do. And that's what I'm able to do when I don't have any, again, strings attached to me. I only answer to myself and those that subscribe and follow me. But yeah, you had an incident yesterday where the Brooklyn Nets was playing against the Boston Celtics in Boston, Massachusetts at the TD Garden basketball arena. And after the end of the game, Kyrie Irving is seen stepping on the center court mascot logo, who goes by the name Lucky. That's a little leprechaun that is the mascot of the actual Boston Celtics team. And he can be seen stomping or stepping on the face in the center court of the logo and then walking off, making his way back towards the locker room. Now, as he made his way back towards the locker room, a white male fan, it's important that I mention that, took it upon himself to then throw a water bottle in the direction of Kyrie Irving, almost hitting him in the head, actually. And, Boston police acted and responded immediately. So I first want to say shout out to Boston PD. You guys did a great job responding to this individual and apprehending him immediately after he decided to attempt to assault Kyrie Irving with the water bottle. And from what I have read and what I have heard, and I'll keep you guys updated, that fan was, pretty much banned from that arena. And I believe there's some criminal charges of assault being pressed against him. And rightfully so. And that wasn't the only incident that occurred where a fan took it upon themselves to assault an athlete. Early in the week, Russell Westbrook injured himself on a play and was making himself, was taking himself back to the locker room. And as he was making his way back to the locker room, he had a fan throw popcorn on him as he was going through the tunnel. And I tell you, it took about maybe 4 to 5 men to try to hold Russell Westbrook back from assaulting this man who assaulted him with the popcorn. And this isn't the first time, a fan decided to take a shot at Russell Westbrook. And he even said in a press conference that, enough's enough, that it's getting to the point where the NBA is going to have to do something because, the fans are, from what I'm seeing, looking at the opportunities to assault these players as something that they're privileged to do. And let me let you guys know, regardless of whatever exorbitant amount of money that you pay for your ticket or for your season tickets, regardless of how affluent you are, you don't get to show up to someone's place of business and to assault them. You don't get to yell racial epithets at them and think that it's cool and you're in a safe place to do so. And especially in Boston. Boston has a very racist history, just in the city alone. Now, if you just exclude basketball out of it, and you just think about the city of Boston and how it has treated minorities, particularly black people, it's just been deplorable. And not to say that things have not changed to somewhat of a degree, but that is still there. The remnants of that is still there, and it's not going anywhere. So I don't want anyone to think that, it's 2021. Race relations are a hell of a lot better than they were 70 years ago. But there are still racist people that still exist, and they're always going to exist. But just because racist people are always going to exist and be there, that don't mean you get the opportunity to still assault people and yell racial epithets out in public and nothing gets to happen to you. I'm totally against that. You're not at a zoo. These are not pet animals that you're kicking and stomping and banging against the glass to get their attention. And you get to do as you please and do as you want. You get to go home and there's no consequences or repercussions to your actions. And I'm just disgusted that the media isn't reporting this. You have predominantly a good portion of these attacks against these athletes They're coming at the behest of white men. White men are attacking black men in their place of business and sporting events. And no one's talking about this. And I wonder if the roles were reversed. If black men were going to hockey games, right, that are predominantly played by white Caucasian men, and black men were in the stands, and who were the fans, who were then throwing food, whatever at these hockey players. I wonder how long white men in America would stand for that. I wonder how long would the media choose not to report it and turn a blind eye to it. So, excuse me, I'm just going to point out the double standard here. We point out the fact that there's been an attack against Asians, an increased attack against Asians. There's been an increased attack against Palestinian people and also Israeli people due to the fact that they're skirmishing in the eastern part of the world, right? And my thing is, so when there's attack against black men or black people in general, is there any coalition that's going to speak up on our behalf? I'm not talking about Black Lives Matters. I can care less about that Black Lives Matters movement, right? I'm not a part of that organization. I do not support it. I do not subscribe to any of the ideals and belief that the organization prompts to tote out there. That's not me. I have nothing to do with that. And I'm going to get to the Black Lives Matters organization later in this particular podcast because I got some bones to pick with it. But my thing is, the NBA is 90% black athlete. So you got 90% ownership who are white. Why aren't they doing something to protect their players? How many more of their players got to be subjected to white males at these games who are paying their admission to come to these games and to be entertained, to continuously get pass after pass after pass to assault black athletes, and nothing is done? But I'm not going to put all of the ownership at the foot of white men and white ownership in the NBA. I'm going to put a lot of it also at the ownership and foot of black athletes. Why would you continuously show up and play in a league and play a sport where clearly the people that you are predominantly entertaining live at these games are white men and women with their children, and they're assaulting you, and you show up time and time again to entertain them, and you don't say nothing? A lot of these black athletes refuse to say anything. And I get it. The money's good. A lot of these guys are getting paid wealth that is just beyond our means of understanding. You talking about generational wealth? I'm talking about several generations of wealth. The amount of money that these guys are receiving within 1 year, let alone a decade span. And some black athletes do subscribe to the fact that they feel, hey, do whatever you want to me. Long as the check clears, I don't give a damn. And I have a bit of a problem with that. I have a bit of a bone to pick with that. You got LeBron James, who's the biggest athlete in the NBA right now. Whatever he says goes. Whatever he does is highlighted as, the role model and the quick simple example of what a black man should be. And he says nothing, pretty much. He does nothing about these particular issues. He says a soundbite here and there about it, and that's it. What are you going to do? Are you going to lead a boycott to tell these black athletes, hey, look, if this is going to continue to go on, well, we're not going to play? Is LeBron James going to take the mantle and do something like that? Is this issue of any importance to him? And not only that, what does it show the young black athletes that are coming up that are inspiring to play NBA basketball? What are their expectations? So they just expect to be assaulted and to be treated as if they're circus animals? Let's be honest and fair here, right? The predominant fan in the crowd at these live games, they're white men. Those tickets to watch these guys play is very expensive. Black people, we don't got the means to support these players and go to these games like that, to buy season tickets and stuff like that. We don't have the resources to necessarily be out there like that. But we know the white community do. There's a white portion of society that is very affluent, that has always been very affluent, who can go to these games and buy the tickets and go to every game if they choose and please. So in all reality, the fans that are really assaulting these players at the live games are white. And the media will not say that. The media, for whatever reason, will not point that out. And for whatever reason, I don't know why. And I don't know why white players in the NBA won't speak up. It's always a black player that has to speak up for the things that are white people doing. Well, why don't the white players speak up? Where does the onus land on the white players that are playing in a predominantly black league, but yet the white people that are coming to the games aren't assaulting and yelling racial epithets at the white players? So if I was an NBA player and I had a white teammate and I see he's over there not saying anything, yet he's hear all the niggers that the fans are yelling at me. He hears all of the racist remarks and the misogynistic remarks and the derogatory remarks that are levied at me because of the skin color and the race that I am. And then now they're taking it a step further to now assault me physically, and he doesn't say anything. I would have a bit of a problem with that. But then again, it seems like we can't expect black athletes to own up for anything. They don't have, it seems like some of them just don't have the balls or just don't have the integrity to want to stand on their square as men should, or as men once did a time ago. It comes down to, it seems, the bag. Whatever it takes to get the bag, they will do. They will subject themselves to anything and everything. And I'm bothered by that. I'm disgusted by that. I'm not pleased with that, because that set a precedent. Because if you guys nip this in the ass from the beginning and were more united, there's no way in hell that this would continue to be an issue that we got to continuously address. Even last night during the Wizards game and the 76ers game, you had another young white man run onto the basketball court. And in that situation, thank God he didn't assault anyone. He didn't, throw a blow or throw anything at any of the basketball players or anything of that nature. He just ran on the court and did something dumb, try to touch the backboard, but he was immediately tackled on the court. But my thing is, it's always a white male doing this kind of dumb shit at the games. Rarely do you see black men get out of pocket at these kind of games and venues and events. I'm not saying that and they never happen. There's never any fights in the stand. When you got alcohol involved, when you got hot-tempered fans involved, especially if your team is losing, you and a fan might get into and go back and forth. But I'm talking about the assault and the disrespect. If it isn't racial in nature, if it's now becoming physical in nature, you just don't see black men doing this when we go to sporting events against white people. You don't see black men in the crowds at baseball games, at tennis events, at NASCAR events, disparaging white people, calling them racist names and things of that nature. Talking about sleeping with their wives. I mean, Ja Morant, right? Memphis Grizzly point guard. He's a young, up-and-coming superstar, I believe, in the making. And they were playing against the Utah Jazz the other night in Utah. And Utah fan base is known for being racist. That fan base is known for being, and that's what I don't get. Like, if you are a black man and you playing in a city that's known to be racist towards the other visiting team players, and they're black and you're black, how could you not speak out against the fans in your hometown? I wouldn't want to represent any fan like that. I wouldn't be proud to wear that jersey for that city if the fans that I'm representing and winning for are racist towards people that look like me. That don't even make sense. But again, Ja Morant, mom and dad was attending their son's game in Utah. And someone was yelling, a white male was yelling sexually explicit remarks at Ja Morant's mom, was yelling nigger and racist slurs at Ja Morant's dad. Just kicking these guys out the game isn't enough. At least that's what I believe. I think there needs to be a step further and progression when it comes to the acceptance and the tolerance of this kind of stuff. There needs to be a zero tolerance for anybody that will result to acting this way in public. If you're going to act this way, okay, cool. There's going to be things that's going to occur, right? You're going to be humiliated, right? You're going to be banned, right? You're no longer going to be able to exist and be in this space and think that you're going to be racist in nature and it's going to be okay. But it's not upon black people to police white people when they're acting like that. It's going to be up to white people to want to change the way that the degenerates in their race are acting. And I'm just a bit tired of the owners always falling at the footsteps, always, of black people when white people are showing this barbaric, disgusting nature that they have shown consistently in this nation throughout the centuries. And again, I don't want to generalize all white people as being racist. No, absolutely not. Not all white people are not racist. There are white people that do not tolerate this. There are white people that will immediately, just like when that bottle was thrown at Kyrie Irving in Boston Garden, there are white people who pointed the finger immediately at the man that threw the bottle. But we need more of you to do that. We need more of you to create an atmosphere where it's not tolerable. So if the more white people that speak up, that do that, the less likely other whites that will resort to this elementary behavior, the less of them will want to engage in it. But I had to speak up on it. I have to acknowledge this. It's getting to the point where it's being this. You can't overlook it. And as much as these black analysis that are on TV, ESPN, Fox Sports, as much as they on ESPN, they want to talk about everything else other than the elephant in the room, because they'll do everything within their nature and their power to avoid topics like this, because they don't want to piss off that white fan base that's watching them. Again, I have no strings attached here. So whether it's one person that watches this video or one person that listens to this podcast, whether it's on YouTube, Podbean, or iTunes, I'm fine with that. But I'm speaking my truth. And I'm speaking what's real. And I'm speaking what's honest. And I'm speaking what's fair. And I'm sure that there's good white folks out there that would understand and would agree with me and get my drift and understand the point that I'm trying and attempting to create here. That is just not acceptable. So if we want to nip things in the ass, such as prejudice, stereotypes in nature being labeled on people, got to speak up. Got to say something. And that leads me to the next topic. Kevin Garnett. Lost a lot of respect for Kevin Garnett the other day. Lost a ton of respect for Kevin Garnett the other day. He just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. I think it was well-deserved. Hell of a career. Unfortunately, he only won one championship, and that was with the Boston Celtics, with the Big Three. And he wasted a lot of his years in Minnesota, playing as a Timberwolf. And even though he, put up good numbers there, he just never won anything there. They never really put a good cast around him where he can win. And he came to Boston and he performed, at the tail end of his career pretty decently. And he got his only championship. And I was a bit taken back, by the remarks that he made and the timing that he chose to make the remarks. And the remarks that I'm speaking of what happened during the Kyrie Irving Boston Celtics Brooklyn Nets game, where the fan threw the water bottle at him. Instead of Kevin Garnett pointing out the fact that a former colleague of his was almost assaulted by a fan who threw an object at him, Kevin Garnett decided to point out the fact that he was bothered by the fact that Kyrie Irving decided to stomp on the Boston Celtics mascot logo in the center court, and that bothered him. And he decided to make that more of an issue. than to point out the fact that white men are taking it upon themselves to go to these games and to show no respect for black athletes. And it's been continuous in nature, and it's been going on and on and on. And I've never heard Kevin Garnett address this, not one time. I've never heard Kevin Garnett speak on the behalf of Marcus Smart, who have said several times, and he's a current Boston Celtics player, that even though he's a player and he's playing for the Celtics, he has had racial slurs levied against him. He's heard racial slurs levied against visiting teams while playing at the Boston Garden Arena. And my thing is, you a black man, and these attacks are coming from white men, and they're only coming from white men attacking black men. Why wouldn't you speak up on that? Why would you take this time to point out something so trivial and try to deduce and correlate the fact that him stomping, and when I mean him, Kyrie Irving stomping on the logo, was the reason why the fan threw the water bottle at him? A lot of these guys are really out of touch with reality. And they attempt to make Kyrie Irving seem like this weirdo, like he's out his mind, like he's delusional. But the man is very much on point. He's a human being. And it shows me that people care more about inanimate objects that are not real, objects that don't have life. You care more about an object and the symbolism of an object rather than a human being being assaulted. And it speaks values. And it tells a lot about the allegiance that a lot of black men have. And how grateful they are in essence to a lot of institutions. And Kevin Garnett feel Kyrie Irving went too far in that particular instant by stepping on the logo of the Boston Celtics. But some would say, and I would say, well, Kevin Garnett, when you was playing, and you was particularly playing against Charlie Villanueva, you told him that he looks like a cancer patient. You made fun of the fact that he had a disease that he couldn't control. And because you didn't like the things that he was saying out of his mouth to you and talking trash to you on the court, you decide to go a step further. You decide to up the ante and to comment on the fact that he doesn't have any hair and the disease affects him in such a way that his body can't retain hair, that it reminded you of a cancer patient. I didn't find anything funny about that when you said it then, but I didn't forget about that. But I'm sure that bothered a lot of people. Not only that, you even went as far to say that Carmelo Anthony's wife tastes like Cheerios. Like, how do you say that about a grown-ass man's wife? I get you on the court, you're competing, and, your tensions are high, your blood is pumping, you're trying to get the best of your opponent, you're trying to get in his head, but who goes that far? There's levels to this as men. There's things that you just can't do and say to a grown man and expect things to just fly. At least that's how I operate in the premise that I move within and govern myself. And apparently there was no limit in level to the disrespect that you would show on the court to other black men. And it didn't surprise me that Carmelo Anthony was willing to wait outside of the bus that you and the Boston Celtics years ago were waiting to leave on, because he wanted to check you. He wanted to see if you really was about that. You mentioning this man's wife and how she tastes. That wasn't a bit too far when you said that. But it was a bit too far for Kyrie Irving to step on Lucky's face in the middle of the court after he don't bust the Boston Celtics ass that night. After they've been yelling racial epithets at him. After he had a bottle thrown at him, you would choose to acknowledge the fact that bothered you more than the person that threw the bottle at him? It just goes to show where the allegiance that a lot of black men still have. And the allegiance that they have is not necessarily with other black folks. And I've been saying this for years. All skin folk are not kinfolk. They're not. They're just not. They will get out here and throw you under the bus quicker than the white man. And I'm sure a lot of black people know that already. And I'm sure a lot of white people know that as well. And that's the God honest truth. So excuse me if I was a bit taken back by that. I just lost a lot of respect for Kevin Garnett. I really like the guy on the court. And I still think he's one of the greatest power forwards to play the game. I would never take anything from his accolades and what he's accomplished on the courts. But off the court, I think he's a piece of shit. Now, that's just my personal opinion. And that's my right to have it. But I just think that he's not for the cause. He's not for black people. He's not for anything that we should be about and anybody that should be representing us. I think these guys get money and they just become different people. And they lose touch with reality and who they're supposed to be and who they're supposed to be for. And with great power, supposed to become great responsibility. But a lot of these guys, apparently, they don't even subscribe to any of that shit. But then again, you can't expect them to. It's sad, it's unfortunate. It's like, where do you turn in the black race? Like, where do you go next where you can't even get support consistently from people that look like you? You got to be concerned about them possibly turning on you. And, that's going to, lead to me, touching on another topic in another podcast. And that's going to be the family topic. And I'm not going to get too much into that in this particular podcast. I'll address it in another one. But even your family could be your worst enemy. And I'm sure a lot of you already knew that too. But let's get to Monique. And listen, Monique, she can't get a break apparently from black people. And particularly black women. Right? And listen, a couple of years ago, Monique went on the Breakfast Club and she went up there talking about the deal that she initially had with Netflix and how they didn't want to pay her what she was worth. And she felt like she was worth more than what they were offering. And we didn't support her. When I say we black people, we didn't support her the way we should. And even then I said, well, even if we feel she's not as funny as she used to be, she's still a hell of a comedian. And if an institution or a company is labeling her a queen of comedy and holding her in high regard and high esteem with other female comedians of other races as being equal to them, why shouldn't she expect equal pay? And for the life of me, I didn't understand why a lot of us didn't understand that. Why do we feel she needs to just accept whatever a company is willing to pay her? And we should just move on and she should just be happy with what she's getting. She didn't put 30 years in this industry just to accept whatever anyone's willing to throw at her. And I just saw the disconnect and the non-support that we showed her. We laughed at her. We allowed Charlemagne to get up there and make fun of her. But look how the tables have turned for Charlemagne the God, right? Laugh now, cry later. But she did a particular video the other day where she addressed how she was filming a show. And she was doing a routine. And she was booked in a city. And she was talking about how while traveling on plane en route to the actual venue, she came across several young black women. And she then went on to speak on about how they were dressed. Some of them had, bonnets on, robes on, or, were just dressed with, clothing that you would wear inside your home, like inside clothing, not outside clothing. And in so many words, and in the video that I saw, and she basically said, look, the first impression is the last impression that people are going to have of you. So don't come outside just looking like anything. Come outside looking presentable. Don't come outside with a bonnet on, with a shower cap on, with a robe on. And she saw women that were traveling in an airport that were black dressed like that. And all she was basically saying is that, hey, ladies, we got to do better. Where's your pride at? Have pride for yourself and how you look and when you're in public. And I thought it was nothing wrong with what she said because she said it with love. You can go back and watch and listen into the video yourself because I'm paraphrasing a lot of the things that she said, but I'm just deducing it to, in all actuality, what she meant. And for the life of me, black women, some, not all, have an issue and are coming for Monique. And I'm like, damn. It was a point in time where, Big Mama would correct the young girls coming up how to be women, how to carry themselves, how to dress, how to present themselves, how to maneuver in the world as a woman. And it seems today that if you're not condoning them twerking, if you're not condoning them to having an OnlyFans page, if you're not condoning them to just be promiscuous, they have an issue with you. Again, not all black women, but a good portion of black women. I didn't understand, if you watch that video and if you listen to her, I didn't understand where you would have an issue with anything that she said. And I just think, again, I just think there's a disconnect with the women in our black race. Like, down is up, up is down. Like, all this shit is backwards. And, dear Monique, man, I just want her to know, like, I get it. And the thing is, I even did a video about this, and I didn't even say anything that was disparaging to black women. All I said was that, hey, look, some conversations and some things directed at black women, they need to be spoken to black women by black women. Because if a man addresses certain things, it could be taken in a different way by black women. So sometimes, we need to leave things up to black women to be addressed by them. It need to be an in-house thing that the gender has to address amongst themselves. And it goes the same for black men. And I even got thumbs down on my video for that. I'm not going to get any support for that, even though I didn't say anything to disrespect or to demean black women. So it's like you can't win. And, even if you're trying to be positive in nature and uplifting and nurturing in nature, in which Monique was attempting to do here, we can't even, detect or realize when that's even happening. And again, it's a damn shame. And excuse me if I'm a bit tired of that. Why do we have to be so dysfunctional in our race? I don't get it. Why do black people, just in general, black men, black women, why does everything have to be a heartache for us? Why can't we just mutually, just work together? We've been working against each other for so long on so many different fronts. At some point in time, why don't we just say, hey, we'll get further ahead if we'll just work in unison? Or let's just give it a shot. Because at one point in time, we once did that. Can we try it again? Can we attempt to try it again? Do we even want to try it again? And I even have to ask, do we even like each other? At this point in time, like, do black men and black women, do we even like the fact that we are who we are? There seems to be somewhat of a deep-rooted hatred that we have internally. And I'm just wondering, how do we fix it? How do we address it? How do we bring light to it other than having to destroy ourselves in the media's eye? Like, is there a safe space where we can come and correct ourselves, get everything off our chest, get everything on the table, and keep it in-house, and then move on with a plan to correct it? Everything doesn't have to be on Front Street. And also, everybody doesn't have to come to the cookout. We need to have some discipline within our race. But we also need to give people the right to be, to be crucial in criticizing, especially if it's constructive in nature, of what we do. I myself get a lot of flack from black people because they feel like I'm one way one day, one way the other. But I'm multifaceted. It's like I have to be one way to be accepted, and I just don't subscribe to that. I'm a complex individual. I'm a complex thinking human being. You know what I mean? And I'm critical in thinking when it comes to everything. So I can't just randomly act off a whim because my race want me to. And I think at some point in time, we got to give people that think like that a safe space to exist within our race. Somebody got to go against the grain, especially if the grain in the direction in which it's going is detrimental. I don't understand why that can't be understood. But then again, I'm just one person. Black Lives Matter's co-founder, PATRISSE Cullors, is transitioning out of her role as the executive director of Black Lives Matter's organization. And some people are saying, well, she's doing it because she completed her mission. She did all she can do. Now she's looking on to different endeavors to do things that's going to benefit black people as a whole. So she's taking on new projects and ventures. That's what some people that have been supporting her organization are saying. And then there's another group of people saying, well, she got the bag and got the goods while the goods was good. And now folks are questioning her as far as her intentions, her integrity, and what she's done with the donations that she has received over the years. Now, of course, she's gotten corporate donations, right, from private corporations. She's done the bidding of a lot of private corporations. And also people who have donated to her. White, black. It wasn't just black people donating to this particular movement. And not only that, this wasn't just a movement that was just regulated to be going on here in this country. It was a movement that pretty much was a worldwide movement. So it was very lucrative in nature, if you want to be honest. But the issue that I had was, I feel like there was a lot of exploitation that was occurring within this movement. And the exploitation was the lives of the countless black men and black women who have died, while the benefit has grown. The benefiters have grown and grown and grown in capital. And she's one of the benefiters. And I get it, right? I don't mind people, when you work hard, you should reap the benefits of your work. I don't mind people having nice things. I don't mind people, hey, you work hard for it, you earned it, it's yours. But at the same time, this woman here, I have a bit of an issue with. And I'm going to be honest and frank, and I'm be direct here. And I know a lot of people won't be as frank and honest with you here as I would be, as I'm going to be. This woman literally attempted to start a race war between white people and black people in America. Literally. That whole Black Lives Matter slogan was so destructive, and it's so destructive to black people. We don't even understand how destructive it is. As a race of people, we're always looking to be led. We're always looking for the next leader, the next person that's going to save us. And this movement took advantage solely of that. Even in the exception of this movement, we had people of different races telling us, beware. This movement is not what you think it is. While you may believe in the slogan, Black Lives Matters, because I do believe Black lives do matter. But once you understood what the organization stood for, it would be in complete contradiction, in opposition of your Black life mattering. And I'm not going to go into that here because we also already know at this particular moment in time what their mission statement is and who it represents and who it benefits. And if you don't know, go do your research. This woman, PATRISSE Cullors, she's bought several multi-million-dollar homes in very affluent neighborhoods. She has alleged throughout the years that she's for Black people, for the protection, for the advancement, for the liberation of Black people in this country. Countless Black people have died, sacrificed their lives, their livelihood, their families, opportunities for her organization to receive the monies, the donations, the clout, the notoriety that it has received throughout all of these years. I've never seen any infrastructure that the Black Lives Matters organization has built for Black people in any community. But yet and still, a lot of Black people support that organization, even though that organization has never supported you. And that's the honest truth. Before you disagree with me here, ask yourself, how has the Black Lives Matters organization benefited Black people? Don't tell me about bringing notoriety to police brutality. Police brutality hasn't stopped, apparently, right? Don't tell me to laws, legislation, and policies. What laws and legislation and policies protect Black people? We're not a protected group. Asian people are a protected group now due to the attacks against Asian people. So what has that organization done again? Again, this woman has bought multi-million-dollar homes. Multi-million-dollar homes in predominantly white, affluent communities. This woman says that she's fighting white supremacy and that white supremacy exists and that it is something that we have to contend with as Black people and that we should contend with it. We should fight it. It is our number one adversary. And it is the reason why she decided to create this movement and this organization. But she's decided to move herself and her family and her millions to predominantly white communities. Somebody got to explain to me, how does that work? I would think if someone that's for the people would be with the people, would live with the people. You wouldn't move to a white community. if you're for the people. I try to tell black people this. Some just won't get it. Some do. Some understand that we've been bamboozled. Some understand that we've been swindled. Some understand that we've been taken advantage of. Some understand that we've been buying hope, and we're still buying hope that somebody black will do right by us and they will lead us. And once again, you have another black face that's in a high place, that's been put in a high place, that's alleging that white people are so bad but they're not that bad to the point where you wouldn't want to live next door to them in their communities. Here's PATRISSE Cullors expressing her thoughts on her role as Executive Director of Black Lives Matters and her transitioning out of it. And let me know, does it sound convincing to you? And do you still buy it?
Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be here, and yes, you read it right. Today I am going to be talking about me transitioning out of Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. I know. I couldn't have told you that when I started Black Lives Matter with Alicia and Opal, how it would change and transform not just my life, but millions of black people across the globe. 2013, huge and important year. It's the year that George Zimmerman was acquitted of the murder of Trayvon Martin. As a young black activist, I wanted to fight back. I wanted to change the culture that looked at black people as second-class citizens, as subhuman. And then we started an organization. And for over 7.5 years, I was in the day-to-day of that organization, working with our chapters, working alongside elected officials, challenging the police. And at the end of 2019, many of you don't know this, I actually stepped back and I make a public announcement. I really wanted to see the next generation of leadership lead. And when the uprising happened last year, folks inside of Black Lives Matter asked me to come back. And I had to really think about it. Like, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of responsibility. I love the work. And so yes, I came back and I've been here, and it was always supposed to be interim. And so now is my time. I was trained as a community organizer to always allow for other people to lead. This work is not about one individual person. This work is about all of us. Listen, I am so proud of the work that I've done over these last 8 years. I stayed in it, I withstood a lot of shit, and got this organization to this moment. It's been powerful, it's been amazing, it's been illuminating. I've learned stuff about our country, government, how to start a nonprofit, build a team, manage a team, create an institution that is challenging white supremacy. I filed an LLC, a 501c3, started a PAC, 501c4. Literally, I know every single legal entity. Many people are probably like, oh God, who's gonna be showing up for the movement now? Who's gonna be showing up for the organization now? No worries, y'all. There are amazing, competent folks inside of the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation. We have amazing leaders at Black Lives Matter Grassroots. One thing that's important for you to know, we became a large organization literally overnight. Most organizations our size take about a year to figure out what they're going to do so they can manage the money well, so they can manage processes well. And so this team is going to take time to really figure out what the next steps are for this org. Y'all, I know this just from my own life. Progress takes time, it takes patience, and it takes strategy. And here's the good news. Thanks to all y'all's donations and overwhelming support and being able to cut through the bullshit, we have options. It's the first time ever that a Black liberation movement in this country has been given the necessary resources so that we can actually challenge white supremacy. It makes me feel hopeful about what's possible, hopeful about being able to change the very systems that have harmed us for so long. I feel excited. I feel excited for our movement, and I feel excited for me and my next journey. I'm excited about the work that I'm doing with my students and my Master's in Fine Arts program. I'm excited about creating content, showing up here on this channel. I'm excited about the work that I'm doing at the Crenshaw Dairy Mart and creating art that's from an abolitionist lens. I'm excited about all the work that I'm doing around abolition and using it as part of my storytelling platform. So a ton of work that I will continue to be doing. And best of all, I get to spend more time with my kid. I'm excited about being with my 5-year-old. I don't get to spend a whole lot of time with him because of this role. And so I'm excited about showing up for my child more. And y'all, I just want to thank every single human being who has showed up for this movement, everybody who has been in the streets, everybody who has challenged the police, everybody who has challenged your elected official, everybody who has said Black Lives Matter. Y'all made this movement happen. It would not have happened without every single one of you. And I also want to say that I gotta go. I'm like extremely tired. I had the second vaccine shot yesterday. I feel like I was drunk off the vaccine. I'm kind of winding it down now. I'm gonna go hang out with my kid. It was really beautiful to be here with y'all. It's really beautiful what we've created on this channel. And I'm glad that I get to share the news with you first. You know how.
There you go. You heard it from the horse's mouth. This woman has created a business. She's more concerned about creating a lucrative business that's going to line her pockets with money to come in the future. She's not concerned about Black lives and Black people. But one of the most comical things I've heard her say was the institution that she's created to fight white supremacy. What institution did she create to fight white supremacy? I don't know. I'm looking to see. I'm looking around. I don't know if y'all see. Y'all have heard of any institution that she has created that's going to fight white supremacy here in America? She finally has the resources now to fight white supremacy. The resources that white people gave you. Let's Guys, we can't be this rudimentary. Get out our feelings. Put on our thinking caps. A brain is a terrible thing to waste. And I don't want us to waste our brain. We got great brains. We can think. We're critical thinkers. We can be critical thinkers if we're challenged. What institution and the resources that her organization has, where do you think she got the money from? Guys, she's leveraging her power and her money into other businesses and ventures to move away from the Black Lives Matters business and institution, to have her own personal businesses and establishment that would then net her own money so that nobody can say, well, you got this money from Black Lives Matters. She's going to say, no, I have my own businesses, my own, portfolio here of my companies and my ventures. That's how I get my capital. Listen, man, people look at us and they laugh, and I understand why they do it. I get it. I get it, man. I try not to be mad anymore. I try not to get too vested like I used to be, and wound up about things that are so infuriating And this is one of them, but it's nothing I can do. It's nothing you can do. It's nothing I can do. This train is already rolling. And unfortunately for us, we're the fish and she was the hook. And we bit the bait and we're hooked. Challenging the police. How has that gotten us? And where has that gotten us, black people? America, where has the Black Lives Matters movement gotten black people in general? And if you think, and if she thinks challenging the police was a win for black people, she's highly mistaken. Nothing has changed other than her bank account, other than her residencies, other than her portfolio. And I hate to say it to you, but that's the God honest truth. And I'll be doing a live video on her transitioning from that position on my channel on YouTube at Black Talk Today, tomorrow, or maybe tonight, depending on how I feel. But I'm just not surprised and shocked that regardless of what these people do, regardless of these black faces that they put out there to be our leaders, people that we can confide in and be our confidants, they don't have your best interests at hand. Anybody that's working with a corporate entity that's taking corporate dollars, they can never be for the people. I'm sorry. You can't fight white supremacy then go live next to white people. It just don't work. You weren't really fighting white supremacy. You were fronting for us. But now that the cat's out the bag, you got to move on. Guys, this is Black Talk Today. I want to say thank you for rocking out with me. Appreciate all of the viewers who are downloading this podcast on Podbean, Apple iTunes, Android Podcasts. I want to say thank you. Those that are watching on YouTube, thank you for subscribing to the channel. Much appreciated. I'm not like other content creators where I just take my listeners for granted. No, it's very hard. I get it. To get people attention span in this modern day and time. So, I totally, appreciate it. But remember, guys, you ever heard of something? It's called the First Amendment. Respect my right and protect my right because I'll protect yours. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.